On a day that seemed like any other in the Russian capital, the distant war in Ukraine made its presence known in the most dramatic fashion. A drone strike not on a military base or a remote border town but on the very heart of modern Moscow sent shockwaves across the globe. The target was the Moscow City Towers, a sprawling complex of glass and steel valued at an astonishing $1.2 billion. This was more than just a military operation, it was a powerful statement. The attack shattered the illusion of security that had long insulated Russia's capital from the conflict it had initiated. It was a moment that encapsulated the evolving nature of modern warfare. Technology, symbolism, psychological impact converge with devastating effect. This essay will provide a comprehensive examination of this landmark event. We will explore every facet of the strike, from the initial impact on the towering structures to the intricate performance of the Ukrainian drones that executed the mission. We will delve into the background of the towers themselves, understanding why they represented such a potent symbol for Russia and, consequently, such a high-value target for Ukraine. The analysis will cover the immediate aftermath, including the response from Russian authorities and the visible hidden damage inflicted upon these icons of Russian prosperity. To truly grasp the significance of the drone strike, one must first understand what the Moscow City Towers represent. These are not just ordinary skyscrapers. They are the glittering embodiment of post-Soviet Russia's ambition and its aspirations for global economic relevance. Rising high above the Moskva River, the complex was designed to be Russia's answer to London's Canary Wharf, New York's Wall Street. Each tower, with its sleek glass facade and futuristic design, was intended as a statement of progress, wealth, and modernity. They were built to house the headquarters of Russia's most powerful corporations, international businesses, and the luxurious apartments of its wealthiest citizens, a vertical city for the nation's elite. For years, these towers stood as a symbol of Russia's economic resurgence and its integration into the global financial system. They represented a departure from the stark, monolithic architecture of the Soviet era, projecting an image of a new Russia that was open for business, technologically advanced, and unapologetically capitalist. The skyline they created was a source of national pride, frequently featured in promotional materials to showcase Moscow as a dynamic world-class metropolis. For President Vladimir Putin's government, the towers were a physical manifestation of the stability and prosperity he promised, a shining beacon far removed from the grit and chaos of geopolitical conflicts. The complex was conceived as an untouchable sanctuary of commerce and luxury. The success of the strike on the Moscow City Towers hinges on the remarkable capabilities of the unmanned aerial vehicles or drones, developed and deployed by Ukraine. These were not the large, sophisticated military drones that might come to mind like the American Reaper. Instead, the mission was likely carried out by smaller, more agile, relatively inexpensive long-range drones, designed specifically for one-way kamikaze missions. These devices are engineered to fly for hundreds of kilometers, often at low altitudes with a low radar cross-section, making them hard to detect or intercept. Their paths can be pre-programmed, letting them navigate complex routes autonomously. The journey from Ukrainian territory to Moscow showed both tech innovation and strategic planning. To reach the capital, the UAVs had to bypass multiple layers of Russian air defenses, including the Pantsir S-1 S-400. They likely did this by exploiting gaps in radar coverage, flying at treetop level, and using electronic countermeasures. An infographic showing the likely flight path of a Ukrainian drone from the border to Moscow, illustrating how it evaded radar systems. Penetrating that defensive shield and hitting a high-profile target showed a surprising sophistication. Ukraine pioneered tactical drone use early in the war, but this strike marks an evolution. The cost-to-impact ratio is remarkable. A single drone can cost a few $1,000s yet cause millions in damage, generate worldwide headlines, and sow anxiety among Russia's elite. Modern drone warfare lets smaller states challenge larger powers through ingenuity and precision. The immediate aftermath of the drone strike left a visible and undeniable scar on Moscow's pristine skyline. The explosions, though not powerful enough to compromise the structural integrity of the massive skyscrapers, caused significant damage to the building's exteriors. Close-up of the exterior of one of the Moscow City Towers, showing the shattered glass and black scorch marks around the point of impact. Photographs that quickly circulated online showed entire sections of the glass curtain walls blown out. Videos that quickly circulated online showed entire sections of the glass curtain walls blown out, leaving gaping, blackened holes in the otherwise sleek facades. The sleek, reflective surfaces that once symbolized modern perfection were now shattered and charred. Smoke drifted across the city from the upper floors of the impacted towers, creating a powerful and disturbing image for residents and the world to see. The pride of Moscow's architectural achievement had been visibly wounded. While the external damage was dramatic, the impact inside the towers was equally disruptive and symbolic. The blast wave tore through office spaces, shattering interior glass partitions, destroying expensive furniture and sending documents and debris flying. The interiors, once meticulously designed to project an atmosphere of corporate power and modern luxury, were instantly transformed into chaotic scenes of wreckage. Emergency lights flickered on as fire suppression systems activated, and the orderly world of high-stakes business was replaced by the urgent scramble for evacuation. Workers who had, moments before, been sitting at their desks were forced to confront the sudden and violent intrusion of the war. The primary function of these buildings as hubs of commerce was brought to an abrupt halt. Business operations were suspended indefinitely as authorities cordoned off the area and damage assessment teams moved in. Tenants, including major Russian companies, international companies, were faced with the reality that their prestigious and expensive office spaces were now part of a war zone. The interior destruction, though less visible to the outside world, carried a profound message. It symbolized the collapse of the barrier between the front lines of the war and the insulated lives of Russia's elite. The performance of the Ukrainian drones in the Moscow City Towers strike was nothing short of extraordinary and honestly highlighted their role as a genuine game-changer in modern conflict. These unmanned systems demonstrated a remarkable combination of range precision and stealth. To travel hundreds of kilometers from their launch points and strike a specific floor on a designated building within a dense urban environment is really a feat of advanced navigation and targeting technology. This level of accuracy showcases Ukraine's growing proficiency in creating and deploying sophisticated autonomous weapons. The drones successfully proved that they are not just tools for battlefield reconnaissance, but are potent strategic assets capable of executing deep strike missions. What makes the performance of these drones so effective is their ability to bypass some of the most advanced air defense systems in the world. Russia has invested billions in its layered air defense network around Moscow, designed to stop everything from ballistic missiles to high-altitude bombers. Yet these small, low-flying drones managed to slip through the net. This demonstrated a critical vulnerability in conventional defense architectures, which are often optimized to counter larger, faster threats. The cost-effectiveness of this operation further underscores the disruptive power of drone technology. For a relatively minuscule investment, maybe just a few $1,000s per drone, Ukraine achieved an outcome with massive strategic and psychological reverberations. This asymmetric advantage, where a low-cost weapon can produce a high-cost effect, is precisely why drones are revolutionizing military strategy. It allows a smaller, less wealthy nation to inflict disproportionate costs on a larger adversary. In the immediate aftermath of the drone impacts, Moscow's emergency response systems were thrust into the spotlight. Firefighters, police units, medical teams were dispatched to the Moscow City Towers with impressive speed. The area was quickly cordoned off. Roads were blocked to secure the scene. Organized evacuations of the affected towers were carried out. Russian authorities worked efficiently to contain the immediate physical threat, extinguishing the fires, ensuring that any casualties received prompt medical attention. However, the effectiveness on the ground stood in stark contrast to the apparent failure of the air defense systems. The fact that multiple drones were able to penetrate deep into Russian airspace and strike one of the most high-profile locations in the country raised serious and uncomfortable questions for the Kremlin. Russia's air defense network around Moscow is supposed to be one of the most dense and sophisticated on the planet. Its inability to stop these relatively simple and slow-moving targets exposed a critical gap in its capabilities. The drone strike on the Moscow City Towers resonated so powerfully across the world, not because of the scale of its physical destruction, but because of its immense symbolic and psychological weight. These towers are not military installations or government buildings. They are the heart of Russia's modern commercial identity. By targeting them, Ukraine was sending a direct and unambiguous message to the Russian elite, oligarchs, business leaders, political figures who have largely been insulated from the war's consequences. The message was clear: your wealth, power, and influence do not grant you immunity. For the average citizen of Moscow, The attack shattered the carefully cultivated narrative that the special military operation was a distant affair, confined to a foreign land. For years, life in the capital had proceeded with a sense of normalcy, far removed from the brutal reality on the front lines. The sight of smoke pouring from the city's most recognizable modern landmarks brought the war home in a visceral, undeniable way. It introduced a new element of uncertainty and anxiety into daily life, undermining the Kremlin's projection of stability and control. The psychological barrier that separated the home front from the battlefield was breached, proving that even the capital was vulnerable. Globally, the strike was a masterful act of strategic communication, demonstrating Ukraine's capacity to carry the fight deep into enemy territory. The staggering $1.2 billion valuation of the Moscow City Towers complex is a critical element in understanding the full impact of the drone strike. This figure represents more than just construction cost, it reflects immense economic value concentrated within those walls. The towers house the headquarters of major banks, energy companies, tech firms. While a single drone strike cannot destroy this entire financial ecosystem, it can profoundly disrupt it and erode the confidence that underpins it. The attack sent a powerful message that this hub of capital was not as secure as investors believed. The immediate financial consequences include direct repair costs, likely in the millions. Damaged facades must be replaced. Destroyed office interiors will need complete rebuilding. Beyond direct costs are indirect economic losses. Businesses operating in the towers face significant disruptions. Work halted, employees displaced. Insurance premiums for central Moscow properties are likely to rise as insurers reassess risk. The perceived safety of doing business in Moscow has been fundamentally challenged. Perhaps the most significant financial impact is on investor confidence. For years, Russia projected stability to attract investment. The Moscow City Towers were central to that branding. The drone strike shatters that image. International companies still operating in Russia may reconsider their presence. Potential new investors will surely think twice before committing capital. This creates a climate of uncertainty that can deter investment, depress property values, and contribute to capital flight, compounding sanctions and war expenditures. This event illustrates asymmetric economic warfare. Ukraine, by investing a tiny amount in low-cost drones, inflicted a disproportionately large financial and psychological blow. The strike exposed the vulnerability of high-value concentrated assets and showed you don't need a massive budget to disrupt an economy. The message, that Russia's most valuable commercial real estate is at risk, is a billion-dollar message. Economic warfare today is not just about sanctions, it can be waged with precise, symbolic strikes to undermine confidence and create instability. The Ukrainian drone strike on the Moscow City Towers was more than a singular event. It was a defining moment that signals a fundamental shift in the nature of modern warfare. It marks the definitive end of the era when national capitals and major economic hubs could be considered untouchable sanctuaries. The battlefield is no longer confined to trenches and front lines. With the proliferation of long-range, precision-guided drones, it has expanded to include skylines, financial districts, symbols of a nation's pride and power. Distance has become an increasingly irrelevant factor in strategic calculations. This event serves as a crucial lesson for cities and nations around the globe. The security of high-value civilian infrastructure must now be re-evaluated. Urban planners, architects, security services, insurance companies. How can a city protect its iconic skyscrapers from aerial attack? What new technologies, such as localized jamming systems, reinforced building materials are needed? How should evacuation and emergency response plans be updated to account for military-style threats? The attack on Moscow is a wake-up call for every major metropolis in the world. For the Russia-Ukraine war itself, this strike represents a significant evolution in Ukraine's strategy. It demonstrates a commitment to asymmetric warfare, using innovation and creativity to counter Russia's numerical and material superiority. By striking symbolically significant targets, Ukraine is able to generate outsized psychological and political effects, boosting morale at home, sowing discord and anxiety within Russia. This approach shows that victory is not measured solely in territory gained, but also in the ability to challenge the enemy's sense of security and control. It is a strategy of resilience and ingenuity, designed to keep a much larger adversary off balance. In conclusion, the drone strike on the Moscow City Towers was a simple yet profound act that has reshaped our understanding of contemporary conflict. It revealed the vulnerabilities hidden behind a facade of strength, highlighted the transformative power of drone technology and erased the line between the home front and the battlefield. The glass on the towers can be replaced and the offices can be rebuilt, but the psychological impact, the shattering of the myth of invulnerability, is permanent. This event will be remembered as the moment the war came to Moscow's skyline, proving that in the 21st century, no place, no matter how wealthy or well-defended, is truly safe.